Therefore, the prospect of livestock sector using the gains from advanced countries could be said to be a mouth-watering and money-spinning venture. Sadly, this is yet not the case in Nigeria. With widespread security threats, can the Nigerian government turn the tide positive in its renewed attention to the livestock sector with the establishment of a new ministry? I am delighted to have Nigeria's Minister of Livestock Development, Mr. Idi Mukhtar Maiha. He's joining me now. Glad to have you, Minister.
Thank you, Ndi Amugo.
Yeah, you are well regarded in the livestock sector because of the high standard you've set, especially in the dairy industry. In fact, your farm boasts about 250 cattle, among others. How would you bring your experience to bear on this ministry?
Thank you. To set the background, it's important to note the current status of the Nigerian livestock sector.
Yeah.
And Mr. President had the unique historical opportunity of doing the first since the independence of this country in focusing on the livestock sector beyond budgetary allocations, beyond other statements that have been made. He has gone further to create a dedicated ministry to focus on the livestock sector. And he said that sector has seen neglect over a long period of time. And considering the value and volume of that sector, it actually deserves that strategic thinking of Mr. President, who has now made by that singular act that the livestock sector should occupy a prime position and made a useful contribution to national growth, prosperity, etc., etc. The sector is all known. It's known to everybody that it's bedeviled by a lot of challenges.
Yep.
Number one, that sector is out, it's not part of the formal sector. 33 trillion naira worth sector is not part of the formal sector.
Okay.
The transactions that happen and the volume is very, very high. And it's unimaginable if you go to some of these markets. But it's outside the formal transactions.
Mm.
And therefore, it is not part of the modern economy. And therefore, the mandate of the ministry is to transform that sector into a vibrant, modern, sustainable, globally competitive sector for national prosperity, economic growth, job creation, poverty reduction, and above all, national food and nutrition security. And if you look at that ambitious plan, it squarely fits in any sector, particularly the livestock sector in any country, because that's what characterizes those advanced economies. And that's the template we want to bring here.
Okay.
Now, to do this, what are the challenges? Number one, our animal resources, genetically limited. They have not witnessed any improved genetic in terms of productivity. Look at our poultry, better the poultry, because it has seen some radical changes over the years. Much higher, much better than other species. Look at sheep and goat. Piggery also has advanced up to a point. Sheep and goats, the productivity is very low, suboptimal. Cattle, both dairy and beef, the productivity is low compared to their counterparts elsewhere. You are looking at, for instance, 1.2345 liters per cow. Their counterparts elsewhere are making 40, 30, 50. In fact, the world record today is close to 100 liters per day per cow. If you look at the carcass weight of our beef breed, a steer in this country, the rate of growth is very low. The slaughter weight is also not appreciable, 300, 400 at most, while their counterpart at 30 months is doing 600 kg. And by the time you process that cow, you get almost 55% of solid red prime meat if we look at other byproducts. So this is what we are looking at. So we need to do some breed improvement.
Sorry, some
breed improvement.
Breed improvement. Okay.
Raising the genetic traits of our animals so that milk-wise, if you are talking about cattle, you can get at least 15, 20, 25 liters per cow per day. And that is a far cry from what is happening now.
Yeah.
If you look at the rate of growth, for instance, in other lands and climes, a heifer can be bred at 12 months. But here, our heifers get to be bred at 3 years. So you are managing an animal without getting anything, and the animal is only ready for breeding at 3 years.
At 3 years?
Yes.
You talked about liters. What's the liter compared to where you want to get to now?
So what we are saying now, with breed improvement, we are going to upscale the productivity of our dairy cows from 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liters, depending on the management practices, up to 15, 25 liters. And that's what we are looking for. And progressively and gradually, we are going to up that one.
Now, you're looking at how many, what's your, yeah, because, okay, let me even ask the question immediately. What's your immediate, I mean, you're already discussing it. So immediate, midterm, and long-term objectives or goals of your ministry?
So in the immediate, we will do breed improvement. Breed improvement, there are 3-pronged approaches. 1, you can do artificial insemination. Number 2, you can do embryo transfer. Number 3, you can do natural servicing. And we are going to use all the 3, depending on which stakeholder we are dealing with.
Which one is best? Is there anything like which one is best?
All of them are good. It's a question of being certain. The natural servicing is excellent when you are dealing with smallholders. In terms of artificial insemination, it's also excellent because you can now synchronize, get the semen from another country, get the straws, and then synchronize and inseminate hundreds of animals. The embryo transfer is a bit complex, but of course that's an option. Okay, so it depends on the management capability of the small operator that we are looking at.
Okay.
Now, the other aspect we are going to look at again is that issue of the availability of feed and fodder. Is key. It is central. You're not talking about what does the animal eat, because you are dealing with livestock, so they also have to eat in quantity, quality-wise. That feed and fodder has to be there. Now, remember also, a section of this country, particularly the northernmost part of this country, we have a long dry spell where acute shortage of feed and fodder and water is being faced by these animals. And therefore, to be able, to give them what they require to stop transhumance movement is that you need to provide an infrastructure where they are, where feed and water and fodder can be available. A kind of incentive for them to remain there.
Yeah, I'm going to get to infrastructure.
Now, we are looking at that. Secondly, we also have to look at issue of health and disease management. It is very, very important. We are dealing with a lot of endemic diseases. And since we are dealing with livestock, for them to perform optimally, they have to have 100%. They have to be 100% healthy. They have to deal with all those endemic diseases. Vaccinations, drugs, husbandry practices, all have to be there. So these are all the pillars we are looking at in modernizing the sector.
Good.
And in the process of doing those, we have not forgotten also that we need to create that enabling environment for private sector operators.
Yeah.
Ranches, dairy farms, abattoir operators, transportation, provision of health and disease management by the private sector. And that's what we are looking at.
Let's discuss further. You've mentioned transportation now. But at the beginning, you talked about modernization. Break down for Nigerians what you call vision of inclusivity and modernization.
Now, already the livestock we are talking about today is in private hands. So about inclusivity, inclusiveness, you can't do otherwise but deal with those who own those assets. The national herd, the repository of our animals' protein in this country is mostly in private hands. We are just going to enhance their capacity to be able to manage it in a better way.
Okay.
So ab initio, they are included. And since the creation of the ministry, we have been having hundreds and hundreds of stakeholder engagement.
Yes.
Segmented groups are coming over. I am a producer. We are producers. We have a cooperative. We listen to you. We take notes. We tell you our vision. And then we ask you, look, we are not imposing this on you, but tell us, have a meeting and give us, ventilate those points that you think we can collaborate on to assist you to modernize, upscale your business.
For their buy-in.
For their buy-in. Others come, they are transporters. They transport livestock, agri-produce from one part of the country to the other. They have challenges. We listen to them. We tell them, okay, to modernize this sector, the form of transportation we're engaging today, the trucks are not designed for livestock transportation.
Yeah, that's what I was just told.
And to modernize that sector, we need to understand that, look, number one, these animals must be handled and treated in a humane manner. No cruelty, no trauma. But the form and mode of transportation does not fit that humane treatment. So we are now talking to them to say, look, I do know there are custom-made transportation systems elsewhere in this country. We will talk to them, talk to the construction companies, welders in this country to see, look, this is what we want in the interim. To have a custom-made transport wagon that will carry a particular number of animals with maximum comfort and no cruelty.
Give us an idea of what you're talking about.
What we are talking about here,
just like you've explained, it has a negative effect.
There are cattle cruises. We have prototypes. But we are not talking. We are not saying now that, look, you have to go and buy this. We want to say, okay, are we in the position to construct those in this country?
Yeah.
I do know that our welders would be able to do that. Once we have a prototype, we construct it, we test it, we say, yeah, this is the way to go. And then from every market, you have to have a specifically designed loading bay. And at the offloading end, there has to be an offloading bay, so that these animals could literally just walk out of the truck as if they're in a natural environment without trauma, without stress, without cruelty. So this is what we are looking at. And mind you, animals that are so transported over a long distance or period, the meat quality is compromised. It's compromised. Because number one, they lose weight. They go under serious morbidity before they arrive. Because in the transportation system, there's no avenue for watering and feeding. And should anything happen along the way, and there are hundreds of checkpoints.
And not just losing weight, they just lose their ability also to produce maximally or optimally.
Well, these cars are for processing. So we are not talking about the weight, the body condition score.
Okay.
That's what we are looking at. But over long distance of period, when they go under those trauma, the heat stress, the way they offload them, with some amount of cruelty, then the meat quality is compromised. So that is what we want to avoid. And then for many of the animals, in fact, they get loaded when they are healthy, but in the process of transit, certain things happen, and they are sick at the offloading point. And of course, these animals shouldn't be slaughtered before they regain their health. But all these are issues of processes, standards, and regulations that we are working to build.
Okay.
So that Nigerians enjoy quality meat just like you get anywhere in the world.
Good, fantastic. You're expected to provide sector-focused solutions to address the incessant herder farmers crisis. Number one, have you identified, or what is the foundation of this crisis? That's number one. Two, how do you intend to bring peace between this in this sector?
Thank you, Mr. Amugo. Yeah, we've been talking about farmer herder crisis, farmer herder conflict. And I think it's high time we de-emotionalize this issue. It's high time we begin to look at the reality on the ground. My ministry, the ministry created by Mr. President, which is part of the Renewed Hope agenda, is to look at peace building between different actors in the agricultural sector. How do we do that? What are those factors that lead to conflict between one and the other? Now, I've said earlier on, cattle, sheep, goats, poultry, fish farming, apiculture, primary school, hospital, university, offices, media houses, every business requires a space to operate.
Yep.
Do we agree on that?
We agree on that.
Every business requires a space to operate, including airports. Aircrafts need a ground to land, take off and land. So if we agree that every facet of business in organized human society requires space to operate. So let us not discriminate, and let us not be too emotional about it. Animal resources equally requires spaces to operate. And in the spaces they are operating, we have recognized that if it is a legitimate business, government, land allocators, land administrators recognize that these animal spaces also require some business to operate, some premises to operate. Now, the animal resources, they require fiber, grass to survive. The animal resources we have, the species of animals we have, they need those grasses to survive. In one part of the season, these grasses and water are available. But over time, because of competition on scarce resources, cities are growing, population explosion, the need for infrastructure, roads are coming up, and above all, climate change.
Yeah.
All these factors, including the exponential growth in the population of livestock itself. And that means that where before you had X number of animal resources, now you have XXX on the same space of land.
Yeah.
So it will lead to overgrazing. And therefore, an area that is supposed to stock animals for 3 months today cannot stock them for one month. And therefore, by the time they finish eating the fiber, the grasses in that area, they have to move elsewhere because they are alive and they need grass to survive. They need water to drink and survive. And that is the urge, the reason, the reality is a survival mechanism that they have to move from point A to point B.
That is bringing about the conflict.
That's bringing about the conflict. Now, in the process, farms are being encroached upon. We have studied these processes over time. Now the ministry has come and we are engaging. How do we hope to sort out that problem? How do we hope to build peace? We have taken inventory. There are 417 grazing reserves spread all over the country.
417?
417 spread of various sizes, of various state of suitability. But we agree that these have been designated as grazing reserves.
Yeah.
So since they are gazetted by law as grazing reserve, no farmer, no person, no estate developer, no infrastructure, road, express, rail line, airport should be built there. Even if they don't have the infrastructure to receive livestock to remain there permanently, they are so designated by law. And that should be understood. And today we are working with the executive governors of this country, with the state governors, including the FCT minister, to assess those grazing reserves.
Okay.
And then build the necessary infrastructure. What infrastructure do we need to have cattle comfortably, optimally remaining there? We need grass, we need water, and we need infrastructure in terms of veterinary clinics. We need primary schools for their children. That will also attract other businesses in terms of meat processors, in terms of dairy processors. So our own vision here is that each of these grazing reserves will now serve as communal ranches, where at the end of the day, when all this infrastructure have been put in place, then they will be ready to receive livestock and they will remain there permanently. Therefore, the urge to move from that area to go there would have been nipped in the
nullified immediately.
Immediately.
Let's talk more about this ranching. Former Governor of Plateau State, Senator Lalong, is urging you to urgently embark on intensive sensitization and advocacy on issues of ranching to particularly disabuse the misconception around it. What are you doing to create this sensitivity?
Thank you very much. Since the ministry was created, we do know that there have been a lot of emotions and emotions and misconceptions about the ministry. Number one, this ministry is not about cattle. It is about farmable animals.
Farmable animals.
Farmable animals. We start from the bee. We go to snail. we go to poultry, we go to rabbitry, we go to goat, sheep, piggery, donkey, horse, camel, and cow, cattle. So these are under the purview of the ministry. And there is no law that says only certain people can do certain businesses along this value chain. It is open to anybody.
Yeah.
It's a matter of choice. Yeah. If you have the passion,
come on board.
Come on board. There are value chains. And in fact, the other aspect of it is commercial pasture production. Today, commercial pasture elsewhere in this continent of Africa is a huge business, multi-billion naira business. And we're talking about ranching. There is no law that says that Ndi Amugo cannot in your spare time go and open up a ranch. You can de-risk your business. You can de-risk your focus. I'm doing this today, I'm going to do that one tomorrow. And you get some little income there and add up to a national growth, employment provision, and then food security. The distinguished senator said this, I understood him very well. And we are embarking on massive sensitization. Okay. We are working on that now. Right. And thank you very much, Arise, for bringing me on this prime time.
Yeah.
This is sensitization. This is sensitization. But we will come again with a very, very aggressive campaign. We call it behavior change communication.
Behavior change communication.
We want to reorient people to open up, to advertise all the value chains locked up in that sector. But now, with the singular act of Mr. President of opening that sector, people are now going to see that, look, graduates, retirees, business people, and we've seen a lot of appetite since the creation of the ministry, both locally and internationally. People wanted to come in and partner with us.
Now, you've talked about international, because time is running. Let's discuss this synergizing, that's what you call it, with Brazil, and the progress during the G20 summit in Brazil, including JBS.
That's right. That's the name.
JBS. Yeah.
That's the name.
Talk to us about it.
Well, on the sidelines,
from JBS,
on the margin of the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, we had the opportunity to walk around and scan the Brazilian livestock environment, industry, and then we got onto this JBS. It's the biggest player today in the meat industry. And,
in Brazil?
Yeah, in Brazil. In fact, globally, they are
globally, okay.
I mean, many of the aspects, they're number one or number two. So combined capacity will put them number one. And we saw what they are doing. We got into discussions with them. We visited many sites in Sao Paulo, etc., etc. And we were satisfied, and we understood not about the technology or the capacity. We were also interested in the model they are running. What model? The model they are running is a model where you have outgrowers. Hundreds and hundreds of people fattening those bulls and then supplying them. They are off-takers, which again is one model that very much attracted us. And we discussed with them, and they showed interest, because today Nigeria is the biggest market in Africa. And Mr. President gave us that political support, that commitment. After the creation of the ministry, he said, look, this is the way to go. And they have agreed, and we signed a commitment. And already the first team came this is around late December.
Yeah.
They went around some cattle markets to just make a survey and say the kind of animals we have. Now the next team is coming this
January 27th.
February.
Oh, February 20th.
February.
So
okay. They're coming this February. We are going to meet. Now we begin to actually put, practical steps on the ground.
Yeah, I can't end this program without discussing this. Your industry should improve the food security, which the president says is not negotiable. That's where he put it when he was talking about his budget. But then farmers are having an issue. They're not going to their farms. The question of insecurity.
Well, insecurity here is a shared responsibility. We are concerned with insecurity that is induced by livestock. And what I've spoken here today is to say that, look, this is what our analysis have shown. And in as much as we are able, to sedentarize gradually and allow other people to create ranches, which will now serve as a model to demonstrate to people that this is doable. We believe that yes, we can synergize with our gallant armed forces in this country, to begin to see how we can compare notes and then evolve a non-kinetic approach to managing this security. And already I have made very, very full conversations with a number of the services, and they are willing to partner with us. In fact, invoking, strategizing with the non-kinetic movement for us is the best, because we understand where the issues are coming from, and we are ready with our template. Once we start work, now we're at the planning stage. We believe that once we roll out this and synergize with them, this thing will be a thing of the past.
In just 30 seconds, if you can, I mean, the time is gone. NAS says your budget of 11.8 billion is abysmally, I mean, that's the adjective they qualify, abysmally low to address issues, and is urging you, if necessary, to present a supplementary budget. Have you thought about that?
Well, on the day we defended the budget, many statements were made. For us, the 11.8 billion, 1.8 billion for recurrent, 10 billion for capital, is a budget, foundation budget for livestock ministry. It's a foundation budget. We will work with what we have. We are coming with tons and tons of commitment. And we do believe that once we demonstrate out there on the field, we will go there and justify special allocation.
Okay.
If it is time to do supplementary budget, we will go and do supplementary budget. But we are not, I tell people that for as far as livestock is concerned, the days of lamentation is over. The ministry has been created. We have the strong political support of Mr. President. It is part of the agenda, the renewed hope agenda of this government. We are here to modernize the sector, and as enumerated, above all, to improve on food and nutrition sovereignty for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And there is no way you can talk about national food security without, livestock playing a pivotal role in that process.
All right. Thank you so much, Minister of Livestock Development here in Nigeria, Mukta Maiha. Thank you for being on Arise Prime Time.
Thank you, Di Amugo. Thank you, Arise Station.